Hey guys.
Hi.
We'll give people a minute or two to roll in. But if anyone has anything they'd like discussed, feel free to put it in the chat. Okay. So let's just take a moment to come to a stop. Just let the world slow down to a stop. So that you can participate in what is when you're not distracted by the constant motion. Let your vision soften and take in the entire room at once. See if you can do something similar with your hearing. See if you can listen for the clouds overhead, the sound of the wind up in the sky. Just give yourself to that reach. Now see if you can slow yourself down. Slow yourself down to the speed of this living moment. To do that, you have to let go of every story in your head. Every future concern, every past gripe. There's no room for it. They pull on your consciousness. Let go of everything that isn't right here, right now. get comfortable with the silence of this moment. The stillness. Let it be the loudest thing in the space. For the doors to open, the world has to stop. This means you have to surrender to the stillness. Surrender is a word that gets bandied about spiritual circles a lot. It's almost discussed as if there's a moral quality to it, but there isn't. The truth is, the power of surrender is something you wield every minute of your life. It's the reason you are what you are in any given instant of your day. You are always surrendering to something. Most of the things you surrender to take you deeper into the story. When you surrender to the stillness, it makes the story stop. And suddenly you have an option to step out of it. You don't notice that you're surrendering throughout the day because the attachment principle of life, the desire principle of life, is doing the work for you. It's directing your energy. And you're just kind of following the paces that have been set up for you. In meditation, especially in the beginning and I would say middle phases of learning, you learn how to surrender independent of the desire principle. You have to do it independent of the desire principle. One, because you don't have enough experience necessarily with the experiences in the meditative state that are actually better, more enjoyable than the distractions of the story. But also because there's very little in the world around you supporting that shift. There's no infrastructure built for it, except when you come to a class like this. And then you leave going, gosh, why don't I do that every day? But most people don't, even if they attend a class like this. So it helps to just understand the mechanism. If you understand the why, it's an easier sell to surrender yourself to something that you don't have a built-in desire for. The long-term fruits are actually what build the desire. And it's not an instant gratification, at least not for a very long time. But in learning how to do it, you come to wield the power of surrender. In surrender, you become the object of your attention. During your day, if you are surrendering to storylines of anger and deceit, you become first angry and victimized, and then eventually you flip to the other side of the coin and you become deceitful yourself. People flip back and forth over lifetimes. If you shift to the stillness, you come to see what you are without the story. But even within the story, it's a useful skill. I was a massage therapist for 15 years of my life. And when I was in massage school, only about 4 of us ever ended up having a career with it. I got really good at it, and the reason I got good is because I understood surrender. I would watch my super experienced teachers giving demonstrations and things like that, and I would literally stand behind them and I would surrender to every movement in their body, surrender to the vibe of everything they were doing, the energy of everything they were doing. There was no me in those moments, and so I completely understood them. I picked up skills that would take most people a decade to learn. If there's a concept you want to understand, you sit with it, you surrender to it, you work with it from that place. It's not you as a person anymore playing with an idea. It's just the idea. And suddenly all that energy that keeps you as a person is now energizing the exploration of that idea. I learned chemistry that way. I was never good at math or chemistry. But when I had to ace it, I took it into my meditation. Learned how to think in formulas that way. It just happened from interacting so cleanly. I got through organic chemistry without having to memorize anything, because I actually got it. This is surrender. A spiritual principle because it's a mechanism of life, but not a religious principle, even though it is utilized in religion to gain a deeper understanding of specific divinities. Do you see? This isn't what I was thinking we would talk about. I had all kinds of things in mind. But when I sit down, I surrender. For me, what that looks like is just a complete release of everything I am into the moment that is here. And the energy of whoever shows up for this class pulls things out of me. I've been watching it for decades. When you have a problem in life, you've surrendered yourself to something problematic. You could also surrender yourself to the solution, and it would be a totally different experience with completely different outcomes. Do you see? A power to be wielded, a power you wield every day. But because you don't know you're doing it, it controls you instead of the other way around. If there's any questions about that, I'm happy to entertain them. Otherwise, why don't we surrender to the stillness and just let all of this kind of sit in the space a bit? I'll keep an eye on the chat just in case. Just in case there's anyone new here, what we're doing is we're giving our attention to the forehead and crown, and we're watching our breath. When the mind comes in to make us play with a bunch of ideas, we're simply returning to the breath. And as you do that, a stillness will start to build in you and in the space. And as that happens, you just surrender to it. And if you don't know what that means, it's just a healthy curiosity for what's happening. Let yourself be curious about something happening in this moment. And don't follow any thread that takes you away from this moment. Gently shift your focus to the stillness. Even if it's weak at first, just that subtle shift, and it'll grow. it's okay to land on nothing. What if you just let that be enough? No need to be entertained. Say yes to nothing. So that it can open up. Accept it exactly as it is. And surrender your attention to it. You'll feel the cycle of the moment coming up and going down. And when it goes down, you're going to feel like it's time to be done with this. But you need to be at the still point that is beyond the cycle. The backdrop in which it's all happening. means in this moment, your surrender to the stillness is unconditional. Independent of whether you feel like it, independent of whether it's easy, independent of the conduciveness of your environment. No conditions. Find the speed of this moment. Stop pushing ahead, stop pulling back. Surrender. That's better. It's like standing on the head of a pin. But if you can relax, the head of a pin becomes bigger. Just let it be okay. You guys are doing great. You've actually slowed time way down. Stay in it. Just rest in the pocket. Eyes wide open. Awake and aware. Awake, aware, and released. There's further to go into this. It looks like nothing because you can't track it with your brain. But it's everything. A vast ocean. So don't mistake your lack of context for a dead end. Walk forward without context. Just like you did when you were a baby. Okay, guys. So this week, and you should probably write this down after we're done talking, but this week, I'd like you to watch your surrender in action. In every moment, ask yourself, what am I surrendered to? For most people, in most cases, it'll be something negative. Why does this matter? It matters because you don't want that skill on automatic pilot. You want to reclaim your power of surrender. So that it's not just flowing down channels of fear and desire. But we don't reclaim it through manipulation. We don't reclaim it through willpower. We reclaim it through awareness. So first, you need to actually own what you're surrendering to. Own that that power is in action. You could even set a timer to go off every 20 minutes or so, where you can check in. What am I surrendering to? Whatever you're surrendering to, you're becoming more practiced in. And practice makes perfect. The reason that we say that, the reason that that is true, is because literally whatever you're surrendering to is building and strengthening pathways for that experience to become more and more palpable, more and more real. All the more reason to wield that skill consciously. What am I surrendering to? What have I given myself to? What have I made my religion in this moment? I want you to start tracking those things in a journal, if you're willing. You'll come to understand why you feel the way you feel. Those patterns that you build into your nervous system through your surrender create like a mandala, a sigil. They create a very specific circuitry designed to attract more things like what you're surrendering to. And the more time you spend doing that in one way, the less you're able to do it in another way. What you surrender to all day determines how far you get in your meditation at night. Test that. Don't take my word for it. Pay attention to where you get stopped in that trek into stillness. You'll feel it. It's like you're reaching, but you can't get any further. And then take a few days where you completely monitor and change what you surrender to. And notice how it changes your meditation. Meditation is the doorway into you. It matters whether or not you can do it. So, work on that this week. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll see you next Thursday.
Thanks, Liam.
Thanks, guys.
Wonderful. Awesome as always.
Thanks, Joanna. Have a great week, everyone.